Welcome back. The Binational Fulbright Commission in Egypt was established in 1949, and it is the oldest and the biggest Fulbright program in the Arab world. Since 1949, nearly 5,000 scholars have been American Fulbrighters in Egypt or Egyptian Fulbrighters in the United States. And now, in the sixth decade of operation, the Commission pursues an unchanged mandate, which is to cultivate mutual understanding by nourishing mutual education and exchange, and to do it one Fulbrighter at a time, so that every Fulbrighter is better prepared to pursue what Senator J. William Fulbright called the essence of intercultural education: empathy, the ability to see the world as others see it, and to allow for the possibility that others may see something they have failed to see. To be speaking more about the Commission here in Egypt, we're honored to have with us today on Nile Cruise Dr. Maggige Nassif, the Executive Director of the Binational Fulbright Commission in Egypt. Dr. Maggige, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Dr. Maggige, we need to know more details about what is a Fulbright Commission in the Binational Fulbright Commission in Egypt.
We've been in Egypt since 1949. We're almost 70 years old. And the commission was created by a protocol between the Egyptian Foreign Ministry and the U.S. State Department. We have a board of directors that sets the vision for the commission and approves all nominations of scholars, Americans and Egyptian nationals. The board of directors is comprised of 8 members, 4 Hussam al-Malahi and Dr. Yasser Saqr from Helwan University. So we are entirely binational. We are part of the Fulbright program, the global Fulbright program, which is administered from the Department of Education Bureau for Education and Cultural Exchange. And there are 150 Fulbright programs worldwide. Out of these 150, the largest 50 programs have commissions in 50 states, 50 nations. The Fulbright Commission in Egypt is the largest and the oldest in the Middle East. There are sister commissions in Jordan, Morocco, and Egypt, 3. And we are the largest and the oldest.
Yes, the Commission is focusing on the intercultural education. What are the fields of study involved here in Egypt?
We typically cover all fields except for medical, clinical medicine, where students would go and handle patients immediately. But if medical doctors or nurses or people in healthcare want to go and do lab research, they're allowed to do so. So we are in the humanities. Egypt has its own specific grants for art and art management, and in the sciences. We currently are enjoying extra funding for STEM fields: science, technology, engineering, and so we are currently accepting applications for a program for master degrees and collecting data for PhDs. And we have specific grants. We have extra funding for STEM, but we cover all fields.
Yes.
Dr. Maggige, what is the criteria upon which you choose those who want to participate or join the Fulbright?
That's a good question. There are different criteria for the different programs, depending on the level, of course, of the program. But there are also general criteria. So in order to apply for a Fulbright in Egypt, the candidate has to be an Egyptian national. They cannot have a dual nationality to the U.S. They cannot have a green card. They have to live in Egypt, so they can't be Egyptians who live abroad. There are no age requirements, but they have to be graduates of an Egyptian university. So everything that we do is postgraduate. They have to have a college degree to apply. And then every program has its own requirements. So, for instance, for the master degree, if you are a graduate of the humanities, you have to have a very good overall grade. If you are in the sciences, you have to have a good, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Whoever applies for the program, how do you think this program would change their lives and their cultural views?
I think that education coupled with traveling provides an experience that is unique in the sense that it changes the perspective of people. They see it from more than one vantage point. It just widens the horizon. And I know this for a fact because I am an alumna of the Fulbright program. I lived in the United States for 20 years, and I came to Egypt in 2012 as a U.S. scholar and did research for a semester on women issues. And even as someone who has Egyptian roots and was born and lived in Egypt, coming back as a U.S. scholar was very interesting for me. The re-entry was very interesting for me. And so, education is the way to help people. You educate someone, they come back and they help themselves, they help their family, they help their communities, coupled with travel. And it's not, they're not going as tourists. They are not going to live in luxury hotels. They are going to live in real neighborhoods. They are going to have colleagues who are, professors or peers or students that they teach. And so it is, like you said, a life-changing experience in the sense of being exposed to cutting-edge research, the latest and the greatest in terms of science and technology, but also on the human level, interaction and first-hand experience brings them back, having been also very good ambassadors for their own country. So when they go, they are ambassadors of Egypt, and they get to speak on several topics, and so they have to educate themselves, and they get questions that they have to answer, and so it really brings so much insight to see your own country from a different perspective.
Okay, when the participants travel to the United States, how long they stay there, and do you cover all their expenses, and whether or not they're allowed to work beside their studying or not?
Fulbright covers all expenses. There are some programs where there is actually one program where the Egyptian university pays for the ticket, the flight to the U.S. Other than that, if they go on the master's program, if they go as a mid-career professional, or even if they go as a scholar, Fulbright pays 100% of their expenses there. And for all other programs, with the exception of the scholar program, we pay for the ticket. There are programs where they are allowed to take a dependent. So Fulbright will pay a small stipend for a spouse and 2 children to go. And we also cover health insurance. So really, Fulbright covers everything. They are not allowed to work, but they are, with some programs, this is part of what they do. They are teaching assistants, for instance, for the foreign language teaching assistant program for English teachers. That's what they do. They go and they teach Arabic and some cultural activities while they're there. For the scholars, also some of their work may require giving lectures and what have you, but to the kind of visa they go on, the J1 does not allow them to get a job basically in the U.S. Nor will they have the time because the program is so full, and that is they are in the U.S.
Yes, but does the Commission help the Americans to be coming to Egypt and studying here in Egypt or not?
The program is two ways. So we receive Americans in Egypt and we send Egyptians to the U.S. However, since the revolution, the program has been interrupted several times and it is currently suspended. We are hoping that it will come back next year.
Yes.
How many people are joining the Fulbright, let's say, on a yearly basis?
In the past, we used to have about 50 Egyptians going to the U.S. We currently are enjoying this extra funding for the STEM fields for both students who go and get a master's degree, as well as the junior faculty program, which sends about 30 junior faculty, younger academics, to go and spend 10 weeks in the summer in the U.S. And so we currently send about 100 Egyptians out. So we've really doubled our numbers in the last 3 years, and we're very excited about that. And we work very hard for these numbers. We, like I mentioned to you before we started recording, we have been traveling all over. Actually, after I finish, I'm going to get on a plane and go to ENA. Next week, we're going to be in Alexandria, Ismailia, and Port Said. And at the end of April, we'll have gone to every Egyptian university that we're allowed to go to over the last 3 years. So we've been to the Delta, we've been to the Said, as far down south as Aswan, and we've been to the Suez Canal. We're very excited about our partnerships with Egyptian universities, and this has really yielded the benefit of doubling our numbers. And I have a great team who works with me, and we've been able to accomplish this. We're very proud of this accomplishment.
Yes, what about the cooperation between the Commission and Al-Azhar institution? What are the fields of cooperation between both institutions?
This is a unique program that we have been running for almost 10 years. And these are basically master degrees and PhD degrees that are earmarked for Al-Azhar. We have about 5 spots a year, and we've been sending PhD and master degree candidates for 10 years. It's a program we're very, very proud of. It is interesting to recruit for. We have a great partnership with Al-Azhar University. I've had the honor of visiting twice in the last 2 years. And we send mainly in the fields of Islamic studies. And they go and they learn the thought process of scientifically studying texts and reasoning, and they do research, they do comparative work. It's a very, very interesting program.
Yes, Dr. Maggige Nassif, the Executive Director of the Binational Fulbright Commission in Egypt. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much. And now we are going to a quick break, so please stay tuned.